What happens when a brand's boldness becomes its downfall? American Apparel wasn't just a clothing label, it was a phenomenon that built its name on rebellion and shock value.
You couldn't go anywhere without seeing an American Apparel ad or billboard or bus band.
At its peak, it stood for everything unconventional: provocative ads, ethical manufacturing, and a founder who thrived on controversy. However, behind the bold campaigns was a story few expected, one filled with ambition, controversy, and a rise that would eventually lead to its downfall.
American Apparel is set to shut its stores across the world.
Well, the CEO of a popular clothing company, American Apparel, has been slapped with a sex suit.
To understand the impact American Apparel had, we need to trace its roots back to Dov Charney's vision. In the late 1980s, Charney, a Canadian college dropout, became fascinated with American-made t-shirts. At a time when most fashion brands were outsourcing labor to cut costs, Charney saw an opportunity to create high-quality basics made entirely in the United States. He started small, running a wholesale t-shirt business from his dorm room, before officially founding American Apparel in 1989. By the late 1990s, Charney had relocated operations to Los Angeles, drawn by the city's manufacturing infrastructure and skilled workforce. This move wasn't just practical, it became a core part of the brand's identity. American Apparel's products weren't just made in America. They were made in Los Angeles, proudly stamped with sweatshop-free labels. In an era when labor exploitation was rampant in the fashion industry, this ethical commitment stood out. In 2003, American Apparel opened its first retail store, transforming the brand from a behind-the-scenes supplier to a household name. The company's sleek basics, t-shirts, hoodies, leggings, and bodysuits, resonated with young urban consumers looking for minimalist yet stylish clothing. These items weren't flashy. They were versatile, modern, and unapologetically simple. What truly set American Apparel apart, however, was its marketing. The brand's ad campaigns were raw, provocative, and unlike anything else in the industry. Featuring unretouched models, often in suggestive poses, these ads blurred the line between art and controversy. They rejected traditional beauty standards, instead celebrating natural looks and authenticity. A bold move that captured the attention of a generation raised on polished magazine covers. By the mid-2000s, American Apparel was everywhere. The company expanded rapidly, opening stores in major cities around the world, from Los Angeles to London and Tokyo. With over 250 locations and revenues exceeding $600 million at its peak, the brand had become synonymous with edgy, ethical fashion. For a time, it seemed unstoppable, a perfect mix of bold marketing, progressive values, and cultural relevance. But as the company grew, so did its challenges. The very qualities that fueled American Apparel's rise would soon contribute to its dramatic fall. As American Apparel expanded globally, its provocative image became its defining feature. Their marketing wasn't just a tool to sell clothes, it was a cultural statement. The brand's campaigns broke away from traditional fashion advertising by embracing raw, unretouched imagery. Models, often photographed in suggestive poses, showcased an unapologetically natural aesthetic. Founder Dov Charney, who often directed and shot the campaigns himself, aimed to create ads that celebrated authenticity while provoking conversation. One of the brand's most talked-about campaigns featured mannequins with visible pubic hair displayed in the windows of a New York City store. This bold move challenged societal beauty norms and sparked a wave of media coverage. Similarly, American Apparel's socially conscious campaigns, like Legalize LA in support of immigration reform and Legalize Gay in response to California's Proposition 8, demonstrated the brand's willingness to take a stand on controversial issues. While these campaigns earned praise for their originality and activism, they were also heavily criticized. Regulators in countries like the UK banned several ads, deeming them overtly sexual or exploitative. Critics argued that the hypersexualized imagery blurred the line between edgy marketing and objectification. Despite this, the ads resonated with younger, socially conscious consumers, cementing the brand's reputation as a disruptor in the fashion world. American Apparel's campaigns were a double-edged sword. On one hand, they reinforced the brand's identity as bold and unconventional. On the other, they attracted criticism and regulatory challenges that began to weigh heavily on its image, reflecting the risks of pushing the boundaries of advertising too far. But controversy wasn't just a byproduct. It was the strategy. The more people talked about American Apparel, the more it stayed in the public eye. This approach made it a cultural powerhouse, even as the backlash began to grow. At its core, the company's values remained tied to progressive ideals. Its "Made in the USA" promise and focus on fair labor practices resonated with socially conscious shoppers. American Apparel wasn't just selling clothes. It was selling an ethos. The brand's loud support for immigrant workers, LGBTQ+ rights, and sustainable production created a loyal fan base that identified with its mission. While the stores multiplied and the revenue grew, cracks were forming in the company's foundation. The edgy image that had propelled American Apparel to global fame was starting to work against it, and by the late 2000s, American Apparel's boldness had begun to backfire. The controversies that once kept the brand in the spotlight now became liabilities. At the center of it all was Dov Charney, the outspoken founder whose personality and vision had shaped every corner of American Apparel. Charney had been the driving force behind the company's rise, but his growing list of controversies now threatened to destroy everything he had built. Allegations of sexual harassment against Charney first emerged in 2005, but they quickly escalated in both number and severity.
Quit or submit. We're going to play a game, Mohammed. Bang. Let's go. Quit or submit. We're going to do 30 spring reports tonight. We're going to lay them out here. I ain't driving anywhere till we're done. I'm standing right here.
Former employees described a workplace dominated by inappropriate behavior, with accusations ranging from sexually explicit comments to outright misconduct. Some claimed Charney blurred professional boundaries, including disturbing accounts of him exposing himself and fostering a toxic environment. One lawsuit alleged that Charney even held an employee in his apartment against her will. A shocking accusation that drew widespread attention. While Charney dismissed many of these claims as false or exaggerated, the damage was undeniable. His behavior was no longer just a personal issue. It became inseparable from the company's identity. What had once been celebrated as a bold and rebellious brand now faced criticism for mirroring the controversial actions of its founder. As more allegations came to light, the scandals began to overshadow the company's accomplishments. The provocative campaigns that had once set American Apparel apart were now scrutinized under a different lens, casting doubt on the brand's values and image. The damage to both Charney's reputation and the company's standing was impossible to ignore. Operationally, American Apparel faced significant challenges. The rapid expansion that had fueled its rise now became a burden. Stores were expensive to operate, and the company struggled to maintain profitability. By 2009, American Apparel hadn't turned a profit in years, and its financial troubles were mounting. Overexpansion, coupled with high labor costs from its sweatshop-free promise, stretched resources to the breaking point. The situation worsened in 2010 when federal immigration authorities discovered that over 1,500 of the company's factory workers were undocumented. The fallout disrupted production and further strained the brand's finances. Meanwhile, Charney's increasingly erratic behavior alienated board members and investors, making it harder for the company to find stability. By 2014, the board of directors had had enough. They ousted Charney as CEO, citing misconduct and misuse of company funds. Charney fought back, attempting to regain control of the company, but his efforts ultimately failed. Without its controversial leader, American Apparel struggled to chart a clear path forward. In October 2015, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, burdened by nearly $300 million in debt. A brief restructuring allowed it to continue operations, but the changes weren't enough. Just a year later, in November 2016, American Apparel filed for bankruptcy again. This time, it marked the end of the road for its retail empire. Stores were shuttered, employees were laid off, and the once iconic brand faced an uncertain future. After filing for bankruptcy in late 2016, American Apparel's fate seemed sealed. The once iconic brand that had dominated global fashion was now struggling to survive. In early 2017, Canadian apparel giant Gildan Activewear stepped in, purchasing the company's intellectual property and other assets for $88 million. This marked the end of American Apparel as it was once known, and the beginning of a very different chapter under new ownership. But could a brand so deeply tied to its original ethos thrive in a completely new form? Gildan's acquisition did not include American Apparel's retail stores or its Los Angeles-based manufacturing facilities. Thousands of employees were laid off, and the company's promise of made-in-the-USA production was effectively dismantled. While Gildan initially offered a small selection of US-made products, its primary focus shifted to globally sourced manufacturing, leveraging its existing factories in Central America and Asia. This shift made financial sense for Gildan, but it also alienated some of the brand's original loyalists. For years, American Apparel had built its identity on ethical labor practices and locally produced clothing. Under Gildan's ownership, those values were reinterpreted as a broader commitment to affordability and efficient global production. The sweatshop-free promise remained, but the meaning had evolved. Gildan also took a more restrained approach to marketing, distancing the brand from the hypersexualized and controversial campaigns of the past. The goal was to reposition American Apparel as a more accessible, modern label while retaining its signature basics like hoodies, t-shirts, and leggings. While the acquisition allowed American Apparel to survive as a brand, it no longer held the cultural clout it once had. For many, it became a ghost of its former self, a brand that carried the same name but lacked the defiance and identity that had made it a cultural phenomenon. The story of American Apparel didn't end with its acquisition. It transformed into a complex legacy. For many, the brand is remembered as a trailblazer that redefined fashion marketing and championed progressive ideals in a way few others dared. Its minimalist basics became a staple in wardrobes across the globe, and its unapologetic approach to advertising left an indelible mark on the industry. After being ousted from American Apparel in 2014, Charney didn't step away from fashion. In 2016, he founded Los Angeles Apparel, a brand built on many of the same principles: fair labor, US-based manufacturing, and quality basics. He even rehired many of his former employees. But while Los Angeles Apparel has found its footing, Charney's controversial history has followed him, making it hard to escape the shadow of his past. In 2025, American Apparel still exists, but it is far from the cultural icon it once was. Its move to online retail under Gildan Activewear has kept the brand functional, focusing on basic clothing, but it has lost the rebellious energy and unique identity that once set it apart. American Apparel's rise and fall is more than just the story of a fashion brand. It shows how bold ideas and ambition can create something groundbreaking, but also how mismanagement and controversy can bring it all crashing down. What are your thoughts on the journey of American Apparel? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Until next time.